Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
A redacted version of the Mueller report will be made public later this morning. I'm Natalie Brand on Capitol Hill with how the president is already responding and why congressional Democrats are already upset about how it will be released.
Train jams causing issues for people living in places like here in Manhattan. The Montana Rail Link is responding. I'm Cody Boyer with the latest details.
Good morning to you and welcome to your Thursday. We're coming right up on 6:30. I'm Missy O'Malley with Chet Lehman. And a top story for you here, nearly 2 years after Special Counsel Robert Mueller began his investigation of the Russia meddling into the 2016 election, the public will now see its final report as of today.
CBS's Natalie Brand is on Capitol Hill with the details on the release.
President Trump says he's confident ahead of today's release of Robert Mueller's nearly 400-page report.
This should never happen to a president or to this country again, what took place. And you'll see a lot of very strong things come out tomorrow.
A redacted version will be made public this morning.
We will provide explanatory notes describing the basis for each redactions.
Just before its release, Attorney General William Barr is expected to hold a news conference.
He has briefed the White House on the report.
House Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler accuses Barr of covering for President Trump and says he will spin the report's findings.
Attorney General Barr is not allowing the facts of the Mueller report to speak for themselves, but is trying to bake in the narrative about the report to the benefit of the White House.
Barr released a 4-page summary of the report last month. In it, he said Mueller found no evidence of coordination between the Trump campaign and Russia, but Mueller did not make a conclusion on whether the president had obstructed justice, leaving that to Barr, who determined Mr. Trump had not.
American voters might feel differently. Congress might feel differently.
Former acting Assistant Attorney General Mary McCord says the public will soon be able to make its own judgments.
There's a whole lot of daylight in between nothing happened and a crime was committed.
CBS News has learned the president's personal attorneys have been working on a counter report that's been in the works for months. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Now, shortly after Barr's news conference at 7:30 our time this morning, the report will be delivered to Congress on CDs, and then it will end up on the special counsel's website for the public to read. The Attorney General says he's redacted grand jury material, information that could impact ongoing investigations, classified material, and evidence against people not criminally charged. CBS News will carry Barr's news conference live in a special report during CBS This Morning's broadcast. And coming up just 7:30 our time.
Right.
There
so
you go.
CBS This Morning will be cutting right into that.
That's correct.
Absolutely. Matt joins us now, just looking out there, just a beautiful skyline this morning.
It's fantastic. It was beautiful this morning. You didn't really need your headlights.
Yeah, the moon.
When we were coming in. Yeah, the moon was so bright.
Yeah.
It's beautiful this morning. Temperatures are a little crisp into the 30s. I do expect the temperatures to climb pretty quickly as you move later into the afternoon. Our daytime highs into the mid to upper 50s, low 60s by the mid-afternoon, and another warm day on tap for your Friday as well. But then we start to see some changes. We're going to break down your complete forecast from the Billion Auto Weather Patio in just a few minutes.
6:33 now on this Thursday. Our top local story, shipping by rail, a big industry in the state of Montana. And one of the side effects, of course, being stuck at a railroad crossing waiting for a train to go by.
Certainly, and some people say the wait is too long, especially when the trains are forced to stop at those busy intersections. MTN's Cody Boyer takes a closer look at the industry and what it's doing to help make it easier for those stuck at those rail crossings.
So far, I've had to wait about 10 minutes since this started up. My car is parked on the other side, and that's the way that Montana Rail Link likes to keep it. But for others who live in the area who are just trying to get to one side or the other, they say these wait times is like cutting the city in half.
They cannot cut towns in half like that.
Lindsay Callistad commutes from her home in Manhattan to work in Bozeman every day. So when she says she comes up to the tracks and finds a train blocking the way, she's not the only one inconvenienced.
Manhattan has 2 railway crossings that get you from one side of town to the other. Lots of people, kids jumping through the trains while they're stopped.
For Lindsay, her main concern, time.
The fire department, the police station are both on the south side of the tracks. 90% of the town is on the north side of the tracks. In emergency situations, every second counts.
Actual blocked crossings where the train is not moving are not very common.
Ross Lane, Chief Communications Officer for Montana Rail Link, says these issues do happen, though, and can stem from miles away.
There can be situations in which it does go longer than that. Anything from weather to mechanical difficulties can cause a train to stop.
He adds that MRL does try to work with law enforcement and first responders.
We know we do affect people's lives. We do work with 911 and different first responders. We actually have the ability to break that train. We do keep track of complaints when people call in.
Lane agrees there can be an issue, but MRL cannot pay for public infrastructure. So the Rail Link will try to listen, while folks like Lindsay hope they are heard.
We will do our part to try to minimize those disruptions, but we also encourage people to contact their city, county, local, or state government to talk about different infrastructure improvements that can be made.
We just need to shed some light on it and get the spotlight out there to say, okay, now's the time.
Anyone who does have the complaint or want to file one can do so by calling that number. In Manhattan, Cody Boyer, back to you.
Montana Rail Link says that you can also contact their Chief Communications Director by email. And of course, you can find all of that information and contact info on our website.
Also on the local scene this morning, the demolition of both Montana State University's gyms all done, but the overall project far from over.
It's been over a month since the north and south gym's roofs collapsed, and now the upper gym that separated them has to be torn down. They are now working inside, preparing for the demolition through mechanical, electrical, and plumbing work.
This will take about 2 weeks, and it will include attention to the remaining floor inside. After that, people should expect to see crews working again as they start to take apart the upper gym.
We want to make sure that in taking down the upper gym, we're being careful of the building around it. I mean, the remaining fitness center was renovated not that long ago, and it's in very good shape. So as we take down those walls, we want to be very cautious to make sure that we're not going to damage anything.
Now, MSU officials do say the university does plan to rebuild, but they are not sure yet what exactly will replace the gym.
And as the Montana legislature enters its final days, lawmakers are busy putting the final touches on the $10 billion state budget. And a key element of that process is something called the companion bill, where money or programs are stuffed into these bills at the very last minute.
The process has come under criticism, but yesterday at the Capitol, lawmakers openly addressed these complaints and how things should work. MTN's chief political reporter Mike Dennison picks up the story.
1 week ago, Senate Bill 352 was a single open-ended sentence on transferring money in the state budget. But late last week, the House Appropriations Committee placed 9 pages and $38 million in spending authority into this bill for programs in 24 other bills. And now SB 352 is going to a 6-member conference committee where it could get changed further as lawmakers hammer out the final budget. That move prompted some words of caution Wednesday on the Senate floor.
I get a little nervous for the taxpayers of Montana because I am concerned that they will not have be part of the discussion, quite frankly.
Keep your eyes on it. This is when a lot of your bills that may have been met demise, and they may have had a little money in them, this is where we prioritize our session at the very end.
Senate Bill 352 is one of several so-called companion bills which are used to tie up loose ends in the overall budget by the end of the session, which could come as early as next week. Most of the spending is in the main budget bill, House Bill 2. But a potential final vote on that bill was delayed Wednesday in the House. House Appropriations Committee Chair Nancy Balance of Hamilton told MTN News she wants to hang on to the bill until she's assured the companion bills cover any spending outside of HB 2. Critics of the process say companion bills have been used to insert spending or pet projects that didn't get approval in the regular process. But Senate leaders on Wednesday insisted the process is an open one.
In terms of transparency, I think this is actually an advance to the system. Back in the day when just a couple people sat around after House Bill 2 had passed, and they had 2 piles of bills. Ones that were in, ones that were out.
The proof will be in the pudding as these bills undergo any last-minute changes in these final days of the session. At the Capitol, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Just as a reminder, session scheduled to finish no later than May 1st, but could wrap up by the end of next week.
So we'll be
follow
following
on that for sure.
Absolutely. It is 6:39. It's time to take a quick break, but stay with us. Here's a look ahead on Montana this morning, as well as your top headlines on CBS This Morning coming up at 7.